Alright, so welcome to the Sunday afternoon stream. I'm your host, Puff39. Today I'll be streaming Remnant 2. As yesterday, I beat I Divine Cybermancy, and to say the least, it was an absolute goddamn trip. Here I am, playing Remnant 2. Figured it'd be easy on myself, and may as well be a nice way to end the week off before next week comes around, and I make all sorts of regretful decisions. Anyway, so, Remnant 2, the tumultuous sequel to Remnant from the Ashes, which was a sequel to Chronos Before the Ashes, or that's how it's known nowadays. Yeah, that's how it's known nowadays. Before it was just called Chronos, and it was on the Oculus VR, and that's it. So, yeah. So I've played Remnant 2 on Twitch, but for the most part I figured why not play it here on YouTube as well. What harm could it do, I suppose? I've chosen the path of the Gunslinger as my starter, and to say the least, I like the Gunslinger a lot. I know, from what I understand, there is more. What the hell is this? There is apparently more to be found, but for the most part... Yeah, for the most part, there is more to be found in the world. But to say the least... Yeah. Okay, so, here we are. In the midst of this continuum. Where do I go? I haven't the faintest idea. Yeah, hell. Hell! We're off to a start already. I'm just starting to get real ticked off just by this thing alone. Right, so, pain in my ass is aside. So, yeah. Remnant 2. For the most part, yeah, I've chosen a Gunslinger, and there's going to be more out in the overworld to be found. So that's a curiosity and a half to go through. I have no idea which direction I have to go, but I'm going to assume it's the one that's very red. Now what do we have down here? So for the most part, Remnant 2 is a straight upgrade from the first Remnant, as honestly the first Remnant was pretty decent, all things considered. The only problem was that it lacked any sense of verticality. I don't mean in the sense of just being like, oh yeah, no. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's all 2D terrain. No, it's more accurately the fact that when it came to like going from point to point, you very rarely ever found yourself in the high ground. The only time you would is if you're at like a slope or if you were just on Earth. And even then, being on Earth was just pretty meh, as all the other good looks were on Yeisha or the desert biomes and the like. And so pretty much everything that's in Remnant 2 is, again, just a straight upgrade, it would feel and seem like. The Gunslinger, I know that there's like a bunch of archetypes that are new. Because I know in the first game, when you start off, the archetypes were just more or less just suggestions, and that's it. But yeah, that's probably the best way to describe the first game's archetype system, is just that it's a suggestion as to what you should play as. The Challenger, for example, started off with like scrap armor and the scrap axe, or no, not scrap axe, the hammer, and he started off with a shotgun. Contrastly, contrastly speaking as well, the medic replaced the ex-cultist, and then the hunter still remained. So yeah, out of all the legacy classes that remained, the hunter is pretty much the same. Whereas the challenger kinda sorta was modified, so that way you were able to withstand more punishment. Oh, here we are. This is new. But yeah, the two new classes, or three technically, would be medic, the gunslinger, and the handler. Then there's like a bunch of other that you could find in the overworld.
How many of these are there?
I pre-ordered this game.
While Clementine and that talking ball of light hang out and meditate? Sure, sounds fair.
But yeah, no, there's more to be found in the overworld. Alrighty. So I know that there's like the engineer, there's I think the cultist again, but I think it's like straight up cultist, or is it Mesmer? Yeah.
Trouble.
Ugh, boy, that was rough. Alright, but yeah. I want to say that they did nerf some things. For example, I would imagine the trait system got a whole revamp from the first game, from my understanding. Before, you could just like literally farm like earth to get like a bunch of traits, whereas now I think they're probably a bit more spaced out. Yeah, nowadays traits are much more spaced out, and they pretty much have more agency attached to them, in the sense that it dictates and decides what choices you made to get them. There's also like the typical class art traits that are pretty new to this game. But I don't know, I kind of miss just being a literal absolute powerhouse from the first game. Then again, I did rock out Leto's armor and just opted into being a light machine gunner. Alrighty, so let me think here for a moment. A lot of the things are pretty much holdovers from the original game, which is pretty good. They just pretty much fixed up any what's the word for it? Not errors, but certainly. Oh, what's this? They did improve upon the weaknesses of the original game. Again, aforementioned would be verticality, and now you could pretty much automatically get yourself to be a high high ground. The environments are much more detailed, not just in a fidelity sense, but in like the fact that it's more cluttered now. There's more explorable areas too, in just one given area. And along with that, initially I thought adventure mode wasn't a thing, was not going to be a thing in the second game, but it does return, and you actually have to beat the game first, or beat the level, more accurately, to get there. So anything that you would theoretically miss, you can find again. So for example, consulting the Fextra Life wiki, a okay resource, you'll be able to probably cross-reference just like what it is you need to look for and what it is you need to do to find like a bunch of items that are pretty much just RNG based. So yeah. Yeah, the detail of this game is just great though. Fidelity is nice, but again, just the fact that it's more explorable while being more cluttered at the same time, it's nice. Funnily enough, I actually watched the video for a short time that said that Remnant is a bad RPG. And to that I say, I guess, it's certainly not a conventional RPG. That's for sure. It was more... I always felt as though the first Remnant, in terms of like any like role-playing elements, would always just be dictated by your character's origin and what they came from and where they came from and the like. And the second Remnant, it funnily enough actually has more RPG elements than the first game, because if you interact with Reggie, you actually can dictate like what your origin is. And while I don't think it has like any major impact as to what your story will ultimately be, it is at the very least nice to give your character background at least. So I figured at the very least on that element it is stronger, but yeah, no, I guess in terms of like conventional RPGs where you have to like, yeah, in terms of like conventional RPGs where it's like, oh yeah, you need to decide like, you know, what choices and decisions you need to make. But then again, you have archetypes, class that, or you know, archetypes slash classes that dictates how you play, how you operate, what's your preference. Gunslinger, for example, you pretty much sling bullets in the mechanical sense. In the mechanical sense, it's pretty much you slinging bullets. Challenger, you're a tank, indomitable by every metric of the word. But yeah, indomitable in every metric of the word. You go down, you're gonna take everyone down and coming down swinging. Then you have the medic, support, the supporter of your entire team, or hell, just by yourself. And nope, a challenger awaits. Where are you, challenger? I didn't realize my own father was my challenger. What the hell do you challenge him for? Yeah, no, I guess in a more mechanical sense, it's an RPG though. Yeah, more mechanical sense than an RPG. So
it's over.
Then again, now I think about it, the first Final Fantasy is considered an RPG, isn't it? So it doesn't really have much in terms of role playing either. It's literally just, if I'm not mistaken, at the very least from my old man's telling to me, it's pretty much going from like point A to point B and just listening and seeing what the story is about, and you just like statting out your characters. The first Final Fantasy, you were able to determine like fighter, like what classes you were: fighter, thief, white mage, black mage, your typical party crew. whilst in later Final Fantasy games, of course, that becomes less and less the case. Oh, and also you have to account for the gears they use too. So yeah, I don't know what does classify as an RPG nowadays. Is it really the choices you make in a story, or is it just the actual mechanical sense of you role playing as a particular role? Anyway. But yeah, no, I guess, you know, Remnant isn't like that conventional of an isn't like a traditional conventional RPG where stories and decision making is really necessary. It's just you mechanically overcoming a lot of obstacles while going from point A to point B. Wait, I just described Final Fantasy at this point now. Are we sure it's not a... Never mind. Okay, so this is Yeisha. Man, it looks bigger. Before, Yeisha was pretty small, if I'm being honest. Oh, crap. But yeah, back in the first game, Yeisha was really small. Now it's a lot bigger, funnily enough. And not just, again, in a map size sense, but a sense of scale and just like how vast this forest is, or jungle. Ah, my ancient enemy, Bowman. I really want to recommend anyone to play the first game, but at the same time, I have to admit, the first game just feels so mechanically clunky compared to the second game.
Glad that's over.
Now anyone could say that about any game sequel. The sequel's always going to feel better than the first, but in this sense, I don't know. It's more the fact that a lot of the things that are here in the second game, such as, again, bigger maps, more detail, as well as just having overall a much more finer experience. In the first game, it doesn't have that. It's oddly enough more how do I say this? It's more restrictive in terms of movement and mobility, because here you have like all sorts of stuff. Like, for example, if there's a gap if there's like a small gap or a fairly medium-sized gap, your player will automatically jump across it. If you want to climb up a particular area, to get the high ground on someone, you can't really do that in the first game because it's just more or less with a sloped area.
I've never seen anything like this before.
But yeah, because it's more or less a sloped area. And along with that, I want to say that Yeisha compared to the first game, Yeisha here feels a lot more interesting to go through than Yeisha in the first game as well. Because in the first game, Yeisha was just like arguably one of those like eye-rolling segments for me, where it's just like, oh god, it's a forest with just like satyr people and the like. And you're just constantly facing enemies on the ground. Whereas here, you're facing enemies from on high and low. I would also say that the swamps of Chorus as well was also a slog to me as well. Ooh, what's this? The Idol Vengeance, huh? Increase all damage when health is below 50. That could prove to be useful in a pinch.
Here they come.
Yeehaw, mofo. At least the enemies are much more diverse this time as well. Not just in terms of like just enemy type, both in an enemy type and a visual standpoint to some extent. Oh crap, he's gonna be tough. Burn, baby, burn. Excellent. Actually, this might be a good opportunity to stay on high for a moment. Take a good look at the land. Got some terrain down below. It always seems like there's another way to get to another point in the map. I think I'm probably in a dungeon right now, actually. I want to say something about the first game again as well. Just the fact that when it comes to the first game... Not again. Gotta let my ring do the thing. Excellent. Level 6 Gunslinger. Alright, but yeah. So a lot of the time, flying enemies in this game seem to have much more lateral... or shit. What was it? And which one is latitude? Is latitude up and down, or is it the... Oh, okay. Alright. Oh, it's side to side. So I guess that would be the other one. Longitude. So let's see, longitude, latitude. All right. Hey, pal. Yeah. Just scoffed at me. My own dog scoffed at me. Great. Alright, so it has more vertical movement, flying enemies it seems. As well as actual lateral movement. They seem to actually want to move out of the way at times if I'm not focusing on them. Or at the very least they're trying to charge at me. The only reason I'm saying that the only reason it's not showed off right now, at least as well, is mostly because I'm trying to freaking avoid them. Oh, I'm dead. What a shame. Alright. Okay, let me think for a moment. Oh, I'm in a dungeon as well, so I'm not in the right area. Immediately so, at least. So, moving away from Remnant right now, for a moment at least. Real quick, what gear does Brabus have? Brabus, let's talk.
Yeah.
What weapons do you have that you'll allow me to use? The Bulldog. A drum-fed 10-gauge shotgun. Or I could go for the LMG. What do I want? Do I want just flat out full attrition? Or do I want... No, let's go with the Bulldog. I want to try out all the new guns right now, so get both of them. And get myself to case this.
That'll do.
These knuckle dusters.
The choices you make out there can come back to haunt you.
Alright, I guess returning back to the to this game for a moment. I do like that they did add in like all these old legacy characters from the first game. You have Bo, you have Clementine from the Bo, Clementine from the DLC, Reggie, Mudtooth, and Brabus, who equally are RNG based characters as well. Yeah, the RNG characters that you could find in the overworld in the first game, so it's nice to see them actually survive. Albeit, I think Mudtooth should be 6 feet under right now, because he's really old. Then again, Commander Elena Ford did bite the bullet first before her grandfather, so yeah. So yesterday I talked about Clone High in a very incoherent fashion, much like the entirety of I Divine Cybermancy, to which I have refreshed myself a little bit as to Clone High. But yes, I've refreshed myself on Clone High, and I've now come back with more coherent speakings. So how the hell did anyone take it so seriously? I mean, seriously, it's just like... That's my question. It's just like... How the heck did anyone take it so seriously to the point that it became as dramatic as it did in the second one? At least from my impression of the first episode, at least. But yeah, no, how did it go from actual comedy from episode 1 to the third episode, which I stopped off at before I started streaming right now. But how the heck did it go from like first episode just flat out comedy and throughout the entirety to the second season then being just literally drama? How does that work out? Did the writers take it literal? Did the writers just not have context as to what it is that the show is about? What the hell? I'm genuinely confused and befuddled by that fact actually, if I'm being frankly honest. Just like, how did you get so much wrong off the bat? I don't know. I'm not a big shot Hollywood writer, you know? So I don't know. But yeah, no, a lot of the dynamic from the first season, as well as the first 3 episodes that I just refreshed myself in watching it, at least. It was just straight comedy. A lot of that dynamic wasn't like... A lot of the dynamics that were established in the first season weren't like particularly mean-spirited in any way. More so the fact that... More so the fact that it was just... Crying out loud, I can't catch a break, can I? But yeah, as I was saying, it's not as though the characters were portrayed as like any way mean-spirited. For example, a lot of people, apparently in the second season of, or whatever, the reboot of Clone High, Abe was just flat out apparently character assassinated. And people claim that Abe was character assassinated in that, just character assassinated, and from what I've seen, yes, no, he was just flat out just shafted. But yeah, no, he was flat out shafted. The first 3 episodes that I, again, once more seen again, for the most part, he just seems like a fairly oblivious guy. He meant well by... Oh crap. He meant well by his friends, and along with that, he was fairly... He always stuck up for them. This being Gandhi and Joan in the first season. But again, he also had, you know, selfish things too. The man was oblivious to Joan's affections, who, to say the least, was blatantly obvious with them. And it didn't really come off as like mean-spirited in that respect. Again, it wasn't as though he was just like scorning or ignoring Joan's pleas of love. It just seemed like more accurately he just like didn't understand what she meant. First episode where Joan says, "I want you," Abe, without skipping a beat, just like earnestly asks, want me what? Just without skipping a beat, just asks that flat out. The man's denser than lead, and to say the least, it's not played off as like, well, it's like the like Infinite Stratos' Infinite Stratos' Ichika, where he's just like a complete dunderhead. It's just he just doesn't seem to comprehend it in that sense, because, well, yeah. I don't know, it's hard to explain a dense character without... It's hard to explain a dense character who's just more or less oblivious, rather than just flat out malicious, or just like trying to be like whatever, right? I could certainly see why some people would be angry about Lincoln's obliviousness, but I don't know. Maybe watching anime has just numbed me to just dense protagonists. I really don't understand why people shipped JFK with Joan. First season, they had no chemistry whatsoever, and it's only in the last episode, from what I understand, that they quote-unquote get together, or more accurately, JFK just takes advantage of Joan's emotional state. And well, actually, that's, now that I say that out loud, that's horrible, actually. What the hell? Why would anyone want that? Maybe the pedestal that JFK was put on in the show, or in the second season show, was pretty tantamount, from what I hear. From later episodes, that is. But yeah, the pedestal he's put on in the second season is just like, really? Whereas in the first season, he's pretty much arguably an equal in terms of characterization, so to speak. Like, he's not particularly like a bad character or even person for that matter. He's just trying to, in his own eyes, live up to being JFK. And that's it. I don't know, maybe because people wanted some of that himbo energy, but at the same time, while I, well, will abide by the rules of true gender equality, that's not exactly a good reason to just make him the way he was in the second season, in which I think some people point out that he was just completely sanitized, and any stakes or just even relation from the first game was just outright abandoned and just bastardized. So, yeah. Interestingly enough, the second season made Joan the protagonist for the duration of its run, in which I can't say I'm opposed to the idea, but the way they went about it seems just like this weird fan fiction from, again, the first episode, it seemed, as well as even the descriptions of later episodes.
This ain't good.
From what it sounds like and even seems like, it just seems like someone just wanted to write Jonjik or Arctic fan fiction, and they just canonized it. I'm sure every fan fiction writer's dream, but still, in an actual consumable way, it's just really. One comment on a YouTube video that was discussing about it was, I want a package. What package you waiting for? I already saw her bringing in a blender. What the hell is that now? Don't we already have hats? What makes it so different? Could you just put a bandana on and still get the same effect? No, but I'm angry about it still. The waste of flagrant money. Anyway. But yeah, no, honestly, the idea of Joan being the protagonist of Clone High Season 2 isn't bad, but because of the way the second reboot season, what have you, is written and done, it's just so, it lacks any comedy. Lacks any comedy. It's like so serious about itself. Even though in the first season, none of it was serious about itself. But yeah, no, it's just. But yeah, a comment on one of these videos did point out the idea of Joan being the protagonist of the second season isn't innately horrible, as it could poke fun at the trope of just like goth girls being more popular in recent times. However, that's not the case, as you could already figure in the actual show. They don't play it up as like they don't play it up as though it's poking fun at this, you know, newfound trend of just goth being popular. Instead, just play it straight. And to say the least, I don't know. The show probably would have been more interesting if Joan was just like extraordinarily reluctant and adamantly just rejecting just like a lot of the things that the show has her do in the show now. It would still be in line with her first. It would still be in line with the first season's characterization, and you know, it's just like that. But then again, the writers hate Abe. And spite and vitriol for one character does not drive a show well. Except for my fanfiction, which is about Spider-Man and me rewriting a lot of things about the new continuity now, because I am grossly disgusted by the current state of it. To say the least, there's this one character, Paul, who's a complete total piece of shit. To which I refuse to say his name correctly and have any reason to acknowledge him. So, I don't know who I'm referring to now. Anyway, point aside, due to the current state of affairs and of the current Spider-Man comics, as a cathartic way of, at the very least, dealing with this frustration, I've been writing this fan fiction. I call it 03921. It's not available yet. I want to write like 3 arcs before I post it on fanfiction.net and Wattpad. But yeah, I'm pretty much doing a full rewrite of the comics. But it's not like, I will say that I'm not gonna be like morally high about it, like, oh, my interpretation is better. No, it's nothing like that. More accurately, if anything, it's going to be more of just like, I'm just frustrated and this is my way of just coping with things right now. And yeah, that's probably the best way to take it. It's still going to take itself seriously when it matters the most, but yeah, it's going to be serious as though it's going to be serious as though I'll literally be writing it straight. But for the most part, because it's fan fiction, I don't want anyone to say like, oh, your story's better, or story's better than the actual comics and the like, or something like that. No, I don't want my freaking fan fiction be used as like a substitute and replacement. I want it to be a supplement, something that complements and tides over things, type of thing. So yeah, that's the angle I want to go for with my Spider-Man fan fiction. Anyway, expanding on that a bit further now. So in this, I've already finished the beginning arc already, as I mentioned yesterday. However, I think I've only mentioned it lightly as to what it is I changed. Well, actually, there isn't much I've changed, to be honest. Besides the fact that Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane, and of course Harry Osborn are friends with Peter from like varying points in his life. Long-term friends, I should say. Yeah, long-term friends, I should say. Like, Mary Jane is the childhood best friend. Gwen Stacy is Gwen Stacy was met in elementary school, and Harry was met in like middle school, and now they're in high school now. So pretty much they're just long-standing friends, with Mary Jane being the one with most seniority. That's the difference I made, because I figured, you know, that childhood romance plot would be an interesting idea to tackle to some extent or another. I do intend to add, let me first tackle the first arc first. I did add in the fight with Crusher Hogan, but along with that, I also added in Randy Savage's character, Bonesaw McGraw. That's right, Mr. Snap into a Slim Jim himself is in my fanfiction. And to say the least, it was interesting actually. The inciting point where Peter becomes Spider-Man, I written out that he challenges both Crusher Hogan and Bonesaw for double the money, because, you know, he needs that money. At that point, he's got to help. He feels obligated to help out his aunt and uncle with some of the house bills as of late. And so that's the reason, so to speak. And then there's the, of course, more infamous moments in Spider-Man history, in which Uncle Ben's death. Now, I did not write in Uncle Ben's death, nor did I imply Uncle Ben's death. Instead, I outright replaced it for Uncle Ben being hospitalized and being, well, crippled, effectively. Due to where he was shot, he was pretty much, which was near the spine, or, gut shot, bullet traveled through to the spine and, or near the spine, hit a nerve cluster and the like. Uncle Ben is having a hard time moving now. And so not only they have to deal with house bills, but now they have to deal with hospital bills. And so I figured it would be an interesting idea and new dynamic to add in Uncle Ben to be alive and, maybe have some insights on that. So that's what I've written so far, at the very least, so far, and set up. I will be using Crusher Hogan and Bonesaw's characters to further another storyline, this being Kraven's storyline, in which Peter has to pretty much train himself, less so in, raw stamina and power, and now focusing on technique to overcome Kraven, because in my logic, at the very least, during that arc, is that Kraven, while Spider-Man has, or Peter has all this, superior strength and stamina, Kraven can whittle down and play the game of attrition, basically, and get him to the point that he's near fatigued. And that's when Kraven strikes. That's some hunter thinking right there, And so Spider-Man getting by the skin of his teeth, would have to turn to other means of trying to face off Kraven, because raw power and stamina and the like will not suffice. He needs to be tactful, not just in mind, but now in body. And so, in turning towards Bonesaw and Crusher, he learns the ways of wrestling, more accurately, throws, takedowns, and pins, and the like. Of course, this is only getting down to basic technique. When it comes down to an actual street fight, well, they may be a bit more dangerous. But yeah, so stuff like that is what I would reuse or use for and set up for. Oh, boss fight.
Here we go.
For the Chameleon arc, in which that's what I'm writing up for right now, it's a bit more interesting, as I did actually read the first issue of Spider-Man officially. Not Amazing Fantasy 15, but rather the actual first issue of Spider-Man. And to say the least, my understanding for the Chameleon's story is that pretty much it first sets up the Chameleon as a character and villain that Spider-Man will have to take on. And after that, it just goes straight to Chameleon impersonating Spider-Man and doing crimes under his name and visage. And it's only by literal chance that Spider-Man reveals the Chameleon as he's disguised as a cop, and there's a Spider-Man costume underneath. And so I kind of want to somewhat rewrite that a little bit. Give me a sec, let's deal with this. Oh my god, you're alive?
Would that I were not doomed to watch the world wander back of Paxeltech. A terrible wonder, even for one who has seen. But if its kind walk Yesha foreigner, then surely the wheel of the world is set to turn again. Perhaps it will grind me at last.
Are you in pain?
Pain now outweighs peace in the measure of my days. God murderer.
Nice. They acknowledged the first game.
Know it nothing of the hoofless who have voyaged before.
Yes, tell me more about myself. Stroke my ego, please.
That stains its hairless hands. Curious. A curious race, Paxeltech are, to be sure. How came I to this wretched state. Its eyes reached the question. Before its tongue left home or hearth, the tumbling ruin beneath its tender pads was once a fortification, an encircling bulwark to the greatest conurbation ever brought forth on Yesha's soil. Such faith we put in its solidity. Merchant and marshal, peasant and prince, their souls kneeled at the altar of within and without. But a wall is a false god.
Alright, I'm gonna kind of sort of fast track this a little bit.
The only thing a wall drifts open swiftly. They split the bulwark stone as a hotting and the pus poured through on tangled wooden limbs.
You mean the root?
Yes, the final calamity. Their numbers
These ruins were cities?
teeming with life. The sun has never shone on a city greater with charnel.
The root did this?
For 40 days, we fought them on these steps. The soldiers fell first, then the officers, then they called upon the priests. We knew the children would be next. And so, we flung our very bodies into the breach. Some were torn apart like green shoots in a glutton's teeth. Others were swallowed whole and vanished from the sphere. I stuck. Anguished cork, and it seethes around me. It waits to disgorge its grotesqueries once more upon Yesha's scalded skin. Please, Paxeltek, wanderer, it who would do right, put its edge to this cursed snarl.
Won't you die?
I shall greet death as an old friend, and we shall go hand in hand to the horizon, leaving the suffering of this blasted heath far behind. Destroy the knot. Please, Voyager! Its weaponry is handy. Do not hesitate. Strike the grove. Sunder the snarl. Strike! Make flinders of the north.
Actually, I got a stomach virus right now. I'll be back in a sec. apologies about that. Damn. Anyway. Alright, so what do you say? Destroy the growths. Right, so I gotta find those growths. I don't know where to find them, but I'll destroy them. Is it here? Nope, that's a tree. Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh yes, the chameleon arc and how I want to kind of sort of rewrite it a little bit. So yeah, the way that Spider-Man finds out exposed the chameleon is just like by pure accident. Again, the chameleon was disguised as a cop, and just by ripping his clothes or ripping the shirt of the uniform reveals the Spider-Man costume underneath. And so yeah, the chameleon was caught that way. And to say the least, I kind of want to go a different approach. Oh, okay, just like that. Oh, hell. So the approach I want to go for is pretty much, at first it would start off as like a normal day for Spider-Man. 2 months into his career, oh crap. 2 months into his career in life, right? Oh, damn. But yeah, 2 months into Spider-Man's career as a, you know, proper vigilante and the like. Rising superhero, what have you. For the most part, as you know, Spider-Man is dealing with, let's say a bank heist. As he follows and tracks the van, the armored van. There we go, the armored van of the bank down that's being used to.
Please, Voyager. Its weaponry is.
That's being used to transport and as an escape vehicle. Spider-Man pretty much stops the van. However, the robbers get away, leaving only some of the cash behind. Some of it being keyword. There's still like a large sum of it that's missing. However, along with the cash, there's also, clumsily enough, a mask left behind amongst it. Because of Spider-Man's sudden appearance, the robbers did not have time to perform a clean enough getaway. And so this mask would be one of a human being, to say the least. Oh, jeez. I regret everything. Okay. Alright, looks like I'll have to be a bit more specific about this right now. Let's see here. What do I have on hand to use? I need something effective and fast. Alright, let's go with the lever action, and I will swap out for... I need the mod from this to be removed. So in finding the mask that Chameleon used to disguise himself, it's pretty much just flat out a human face. It's pretty much flat out a human face. And to say the least, Spider-Man is at first like a little disturbed by it, just like, is that a human face? But then he realizes that underneath there's like no blood vessels or nothing, nor is it like real, but it's very convincing, very articulate. You know how like in Metal Gear Solid 3, the Rykov mask pretty much can blink, and that was like its crowning achievement according to Sigint? Yeah, that's pretty much a thing, except it can actually move, and it's a very lifelike for whatever metric of it is. And so Peter, unsure to like why this mask even exists and how is even, or why is it even there in the first place, pretty much takes it to, just pretty much takes it along and just figures like he'll figure out to examine it somewhere later down the line. And that's pretty much how Spider-Man would at the very least learn of the chameleon, to be more specific. The confrontation in the comics was pretty much a slow build-up until suddenly Spider-Man faces off against his, like, quote-unquote evil doppelganger. And so pretty much, in this respect, I'll do the same thing and just, like, I like to do the same thing and just, like, write it up to be a bit more slower in approach. But yeah, I'll do the same respect of the original story and just like build it up to be slower to face off against the chameleon. Because this would be Spider-Man's first, this would basically be Spider-Man's first intellectual adversary, so to speak. It makes him think and try and account and predict, like, alright, what is it that I'll be going up against right now, type of thing. And so, yeah, that's the angle I'll be going for on that writing. It's only until like the end, it's only until like the end, as well as even, dare I say, intermittent parts of the story or this arc, that Spider-Man would at the very least try and somewhat learn things outside as like Peter Parker first, and then afterwards more proactively as Spider-Man, as he takes notice of a certain trend, as it were.
Damn it.
And so, yeah, and along with that, the ending to the arc would pretty much, again, end with Chameleon being caught and being unmasked and revealed. Unlike the original comic, where it was by pure accident, to some extent or another, because he just ripped the shirt of the disguise, revealing the costume underneath. Unlike in the comics, it'll actually have Chameleon be legitimately unmasked, and you would see his pretty much his freaking his albino head, basically. But yeah, you would see his albino head, you know, whatever it is that he has for a face now, be revealed. Alright, so yeah, that's the angle I'm going for, to some extent at the very least, as I write the first official arc with Spider-Man. With Spider-Man being a bit more established, so to speak. The second arc will involve Mysterio, in which it'll keep the trend going of Spider-Man having to contend with, right now, normal adversaries. You know, this is before the Lizard, Dr. Octopus, and, you know, Green Goblin eventually. This will be like, it'll just be like street-level criminals being amped up, just buffed up, so to speak. In which it's Chameleon, Mysterio, Kraven, Shocker, Shocker, Rhino, and lastly, Sandman as like a turning point. But yeah, as a turning point for this, the last quote-unquote villain to go against, Sandman will be the last one that Spider-Man has to face, as he's pretty much, at that point, an actual superhuman.
Not good.
Come on, really? Yeah, Sandman would be the first superhuman that Peter faces, whereas Rhino and Shocker, they are just dudes in suits if I'm not mistaken, so it's not really that much crazy different. But yeah, it's not going to be that crazy different from like how these villains are. I did mention to some extent on my Twitch channel that I would rewrite some of the villains to be more redeemable in a way. Now before someone clicks off and, you know, in the sense that I'm making these characters like, oh, like sympathetic in like, what's the word for it? Like an empathetic, sympathetic way, what have you. Like, it's like, oh, you've done horrible things, but I forgive you type of deal. Like Steven Universe levels of stuff, right? The angle I want to go for is almost equivalent to that of the Flash, with some of his rogues gallery, in which a lot of them, in which the more lower leveled rogues gallery, you know, for Flash is Captain Cold, Boomerang, and the like. In Spider-Man's case, for this analogy, it's Shocker, Rhino, arguably Mysterio, as well as even Sandman. I'm not gonna bring up Chameleon because I'll talk about him later down the line. A little later down the line, at the very least. But for them, they have like a sort of code of ethics, so to speak, much like how Captain Cold and the other Flash villains or Flash rogues galleries on the same level don't really, you know, go out of the way to harm civilians in the sense of like killing, or in the sense of like killing them, because it would be illogical to bring that much heat down on you. They're after like money and the like. They'll destroy, you know, knock people out of their way if they have to, but in terms of just like actually going through and killing them and the like, or, you know, just like to the point of just like, yeah, just taking lives and the like, having some sort of morals. Yeah, having some sort of moral, so to speak. That's what I want to make for these characters, or for these, yeah, for these like, for the characters like them. Again, they're still criminals, mind you, but they do have, like, at the very least, just, like, an admirable trait, at the very least, where you're, yeah, an admirable trait, at the very least, is just like, okay, well, at the very least, you have some semblance of morality, as loose as it is. But yeah, I would pretty much rewrite the villains. Oh, I forgot Kraven. Kraven's also one of them. Again, moral ethics to some extent. Loose, they're loose, but it's still there. And so yeah, for, again, Sandman, Shocker, Rhino, Mysterio, they're in it for the money. Or actually, no, Mysterio, that one's a little later as well. But yeah, they're all, three of them are in for the money. Kraven is just there for the sport of it. To fight Spider-Man, the greatest adversary any one man could possibly ask for, apparently. So yeah, for the second volume, I do have it planned out a little bit. A little bit being a key word, as I've not put in like much thought proactively in writing it. Yeah, I've not put much thought in the second volume in proactively writing it. I've only put thought in the basic sense of just like, this is how it'll go, and that's how I want to do it. The second time I'll write a sequel to the story, as a means of cathartically trying to deal with the sorry state of things in comics. The first arc will pretty much just be a whole scene change from high school, to then being in college / university. Because I want there to be like an actual acknowledgement of a passage of time for the characters. And so having at the very least Spider-Man as well as even other crying out loud. Break it right now. Come on! Fine. They want blood, I'll give them blood. They've tried my hand and I've tried being somewhat nice. And so peace was never really an option. Alright, but anyway, back to what I was talking about my Spider-Man fanfiction. So the second volume, or yeah, that's what I'll call it, the second volume, let's go with that, of this fanfiction will again take place in college to demonstrate the passage of time for Spider-Man as well as everyone else. There will be the introduction of Otto Octavius, who in this continuum, let's say, is instead Peter's professor, along with like Curtis Connors and all sorts of stuff, right? So two out of the set roster of characters, maybe even 3 if I feel like it, because I need to read up on the Jackal, if I'm being honest. But two of the villains that Spider-Man faces against are people he knows. In this case, it's Dr. Octavius, or Dr. Octopus, and the other one being Curtis Connor, the Lizard. And this is where we begin to see like more super element or super villains now, super adversaries, what have you. Yeah, this is where we see super adversaries. For the most part, I'm trying to figure out like who would be first right now, in this sense, because I know I want Dr. Connors to be maybe somewhere at the midway point of like adversaries where he becomes the Lizard and the like, right? But then I also want Dr. Octavius to possibly be the last villain that Spider-Man faces in that volume as well. Pretty much, setting up a like to the Insomniac Spider-Man version where, almost alike to the Insomniac Spider-Man version where, you see a doctor where you see Otto Octavius meaning well to some extent or another, having some insecurities and the like, and having some slight insecurities and the like, but overall, unlike in the Insomniac version, which I'm not gonna bang on, he was really good. The guy that played Octavius, as well as Octavius' portrayal. And unlike in the Insomniac version, this one is gonna be like a very confident, verbose Octavius, much like the animated series and to some extent the comics as well. But they will still retain that like angle of like insecurity and the like. Yeah, just like being like insecure and trying to constantly prove out to others that he's better, into which he confides in Peter and saying that and believing that they're the same and the like, right? And so pretty much I'm still keeping that angle to some extent, where he's got like an ego thing, and it still has some like slight insecurity with a lot of things. So yeah, I'll keep that in, or I'm gonna incorporate that into the second volume. And along with that, I do have a set. I do want to at some point use villains like Tombstone and Hammerhead, along with Kingpin as well. So that way Peter is no longer just like dealing with like low level robbers like Shocker, Sandman, and to some extent Rhino, as I would probably allude to him being a mercenary that's just like in it for destruction and getting paid to do this, to do mayhem. But yeah, in the second volume, I'll probably incorporate the fact that slowly but surely, Spider-Man's adversaries are getting more and more serious. Both in the sense of being, again, supervillains. In the sense of being, you know, supervillains, but along with that, actual hardened criminals now. Or hardened criminals to the point that they've made it to being in a... because they're being, like, in, like, a mobster family and the like. Again, Kingpin, Hammerhead, and Tombstone. And so, yeah, pretty much, again, now establishing the stakes are being raised. And I'd probably say the Sinister Six arc won't come until, like, maybe the third volume at the end, where everything becomes much more, I wouldn't say serious, but moreover, like, more, like, reaching its max, its peak tension now. More and more supervillains, in the more sense of just being actual supervillains, are now occurring more frequently. And now everyone seemingly wants a piece of Spider-Man. Oh boy.
Something doesn't feel right.
Alright. The hell? I think he's giving away some... Oh, mother! Come on! God, what is with these grabby frickin'... Yeah, my character said it best. Alright, let me deal with this right now before I continue my thought process, yeah? Mother... Give me a break right now. Damn it, got root rod. As I feared. Finish it off. Oh, thank God. Ugh, that was a pain in my rear. Ah, damn it, do I not have any friggin... I don't have lead. Dang it, I can't drink lead and be healed. Alright. Alright, let's see here. Is this even the way to go for me? Oh, hey, the guy's off. You alright?
Is this real? Or has insensate madness claimed me? Axeltag. I have not tasted air unmixed with the foul humors of the Tangle in an age's age, nor did I dream that I ever might again, much less feel the soft touch of good soil beneath my hooves, or the kiss of the wind on my free fur. Faithless have I been, and yet
And this guy reminds me of the Root Mother, except not as intense, because he doesn't have a giant stump out of his back.
Came, and I am saved. Two-handed warrior. It has my allegiance, whatever may come. Paxeltech have a gift for death, this much is true, but they are not all destroyers. Perhaps if it fights with us, perhaps the root may yet be crushed under the wheel of time. Take this, though it be a relic of Relamer, stewards of death. Wield it in defense of life.
Thanks.
No thanks is needed, for I owe it a debt unpayable. I think I shall linger here a while yet. Many are those who fell on these blood-soaked steps. No, some are now naught but bones. They each deserve the funerary rites of royalty. These I shall endeavor to complete with whatever time is left to me. If its road should ever wind this way again, grace me with a visit. There are yet tales of Yesha I might tell it, if it cares to hear them shared.
What do you know about this blood moon?
Ah, what a keen eye has the two-handed Isis. The blood, it is said,
I'm just gonna skip by this right now for now.
Perhaps. The blood moon is not an ohm chain. Does this lake, the two-handed one, where was? On the contrary. It has been ages since I felt so very much alive. Let us first be properly introduced. Once I was called Lith, foremost of the Lamir. I gloried in that title. Would that I
Priest of the
for
Dead.
many epochs, the Highborn did not fear the flow of time, for the fruit of the Thane tree kept it at bay. But there are other ways to die. Misadventure. If life could be taken, could it not be given back? The flesh was preserved against that question's answer. This was the province of the Lamir, a funerary priest of the deathless, the Highborn, one who wraps the powerful in glory, and the Muslim who seals the secrets of the eternal Empress with sweet seed oil and with night sap. We guarded the flesh of the great and sought their resurrection among these trusted sacred pan. I was the utmost. I relished the favor of her permanence. More fool I. But let us start at the beginning. Would it hear the history of the pan?
Perhaps another time.
Return whenever it is able.
Alrighty. Alright. My old man forgot his phone, I guess. Okay, so alright, so let me finish up my thoughts on my Spider-Man fanfiction that I am in the process of writing and have plans to maybe do more. That's if I have motivation enough to do it. Who knows? Spite is a somewhat powerful enough motivator, but passion all the same is very much needed. So at some point I do want to tackle the symbiote arc as well. In this case being the introduction of Venom, maybe Carnage, but I feel like Venom on his own is already pretty, is also pretty just, what's the word for it, compelling of a villain as well. Oh. Yeah, I feel like Venom himself is already a compelling enough villain in his own way, so there's no need to like add in Carnage unless I feel like maybe at some point later down the line there should be something along the lines for him. And this is going to be a bit more controversial in another sense, not in the sense that I'm now redeeming villains, as more accurately now I suppose for the symbiote, I kind of want Spider-Man to keep the symbiote, although not as though it's like a permanent, you know, fixture as his suit and the like. As I do have ideas for, you know, Spider-Man over the course of time improves his suit, begins to like implement more gadgets and as well as more techniques and padding and protection for himself and the like. More accurately, I want the symbiote to be like somewhat recurring, in the sense that Spider-Man uses it as like a last resort, and the symbiote, despite the fact that it wants to be a more permanent fixture, understands and, you know, over the course of time, you know, begins to adhere to Peter's desire to be at the very least keep it as at an arm's length, or in this case probably a bit more. Because the arc I want to implement is not only the symbiote arc, but also because was thinking about it at some point. I was thinking about maybe implementing the scenario Web of Shadow introduced, where symbiotes invade New York and just begin to covet the entirety of it. And I kind of sort of just like branched off because I thought like, what if instead of like Eddie Brock being as Venom, at the very least in that scenario, what if instead it was Poe? That nobody that I have no idea who I referred to. In fact, I have a weird sense of saying the name. What was it again? Who knows? Anyway, I figured I would go with that angle for when I eventually reach that point as well. So, yeah. And yes, that means I am also including that relationship, but it's going to be that type of relationship that's like not what it seems and the like. Yeah, the type of relationship that's not what it seems, and what's his name is friggin' not who he claims he is. In fact, actually, now that I think about it, I'll probably do that in the second volume, when I eventually finish writing the first volume at least. I will say this, I'm not sure how many chapters I will break the stories down into. I do have them centered around like time and just like progression and the like. But in terms of just like breaking them down into chapters, but yeah, in the sense of just like breaking them down into chapters individually, I'm trying to figure that out, as well as trying to figure out how would I balance the life of Spider-Man with Peter Parker, because as much as we want to see Spider-Man win, we also want to see Peter Parker win, because he is the everyman, and he, like us, has problems we contend with on a daily basis. So yeah, that's something that I need to keep in mind too while writing the arcs too. How much intermittent do I want with Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because they're both equal part of the same coin. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing in terms of my Spider-Man fanfiction. I do hope to post it at some point in the future. Who knows, maybe some people will like it and I'll get into writing myself more extensively, because I already have like one story on Wattpad. Nobody read it, and you know, as much as I want to say it hurts my ego, I really anticipated that. I was hoping to at the very least have some critique as to, like, how to better my writing style and the like. So yeah. Oh. Oh, hells. Alrighty. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so I'm trying to think right now. I want to move away from me talking about my fan fiction because, as much as I want to talk about more ideas and the like, in which I'll leave off with this idea. I'll leave off with this idea before I finish full wrap off, because I did mention I would talk about Chameleon and Octavius, or Dr. Octopus afterward a little bit. I do intend to make some of the villains more redeemable than others. For example, Dr. Octopus would certainly be, I wouldn't say like redeemable in the sense like, oh, I forgive you, but more along the lines of just like actually saying like, Dr. Octavius, you need help. Let me help you. And it goes far beyond just now at this point now the fact that it's like oh Peter, let's talk about my insecurities now, because at the point that it reaches that climax or that turning point, that's when like everything is about to like go like nuclear. Electro is one of those characters that I take the Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield inspiration on this one, as to make Electro this like somewhat more sympathetic character. As pretty much he's a loner and the like, and he's got barely any family that care for him. He's got like barely any family that care for him, and he's rarely been ever shown kindness by another stranger. And so in this case in point, like for Electro, by the time he reaches like to the point where he's pretty much on the verge of like becoming pure electricity, which in Ultimate Spider-Man he to some extent did. In the Ultimate Spider-Man, he to some extent, if I'm not mistaken, did become like that, as well as even in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, where he had like bioluminescent skin. In this case, he's very close to becoming just no longer corporeal. He's just gonna become pure energy, and that doesn't mean like, oh, he gets like pure electrical powers. No, that means he's straight up gonna die. Like, but yeah, that just straight up means he's about to die, and if he doesn't do anything about it, he's just gonna be gone forever. And so to avoid this and to stop, this full descent into just actual insanity, Peter would, try and reach out to some of these villains, and I'm not sure if console is the right word, but somewhere along the lines of that, I guess. Yeah, somewhere along the lines of
music?
Of like that, I guess. Oh my god, this flute playing guy is here? Alright, finish up. Dr. Octavius would be stopped as now the, as I would probably do it as though the arms are slowly taking over and he's slowly about to die as well due to his disease. And so... yeah, a lot of these more higher end villains would not be fully redeemed, but would at the very least be given a chance, and whether they commit to it.
It is here. Friend Paxultek, it returns.
Yeah, it would just be the fact that they were given the opportunity to pretty much, redeem themselves, or try and, realign themselves into society. Whether they do it for good or just to find some semblance of inner peace is up for debate, but yeah. There are some characters that are more or less irredeemable. Kingpin, you got Kingpin, you got Tombstone, Hammerhead, Hornet, and Taskmaster, along with Green Goblin and Hobgoblin, and funnily enough, Chameleon. All of them would be more irredeemable in a sense. Kingpin, Tombstone, and Hammerhead, self-explanatory. They're hardened criminals. Taskmaster and Hornet, they're mercenaries. They don't care for ethics. They care for just the sweet, sweet doubloons. And with Hobgoblin and Green Goblin, they would respectively be more or less, man, I'm trying to find the right word for it. Just actual psychopaths. And then Chameleon. Chameleon is actually a very interesting idea I have, in which in the original comics, or in the comics themselves, he's just a guy in the beginning, a guy that's really good at disguises. Later down the line, he gets like this holographic belt that lets him transform into anyone. And I think later down the line, he does use a drug that lets him transform into anyone. In which I would have Chameleon to some extent be like an addict, would just be like and grow addicted to the drug of just becoming someone else, to the point that Dimitri, whatever his last name is, you know, his real name, just begins to slowly fade away in a road, as all that's left now is just the Chameleon. And so to some extent, there's that. And there's also, funnily enough, Vulture too, who I would probably write in that he would be this old guy that's like, you know, like reliving the glory days of his like thieving days, like he was in the comics. But over the course of time and being defeated by Spider-Man, he's just advancing his equipment and the like to become a better thief. He just slowly erodes his humanity and just becomes a true vulture in a sense. And so, yeah, that's the angle I'm going for some of them. I'd probably need to look up Vulture's some of Vulture's comic, because I'm only familiar with some contentions. Like, for example, during the Clone Saga, Vulture was young and he was stealing youth from a variety of people, as well as even the animated series. He stole youth from Spider-Man for a time. And so maybe during that phase of story, you know, where, you know, Vulture is young again, but then he's old, he becomes like more deranged and just eroded of humanity, and it's just now borderline like psychopathic. So, yeah. I really gotta look into some of more Vulture's more notable feats, because the Clone Saga and, you know, the stealing youth part are probably his most notable parts of his career and being a rogue. Who are you?
Does it not remember? The Paxul Tech and I spoke of a song. Ah, of course. It is not the same Paxul Tech. Forgive me. The horns. It does not have them. A new friend then. Hmm? So what
I wonder if
brings
they're
it to
talking
the
about
League of
me
Yesha?
and the first Remnant. I need to find a powerful creature.
It speaks of the one of many. The once god and guardian of the Pan. There is, or was, no being in Yesha more powerful. Yet now it is corrupted. It rests now within the Thane, befouling its very leaf and limb. Travel through this temple to the far woods and on to the Widow's Court. The Thane can be found thus. But beware, friend Paxultek. The Thane is a dark place, bedeviled by the rot that now consumes our forest. Tread lightly.
No, I'll tread heavily. I should get going then.
The blessing of Yesha go with it.
I'll tread heavily just to spite you, man. Just you watch. I'll do it. Alrighty. Okay, so let's move away from my Spider-Man fanfiction idea, in which I'll make an announcement to some extent, probably just at the beginning of a stream that I posted the fanfiction or something like that. But in terms of topics, no. Man, we're just like 1 month away from Starfield right now.
You again. Why did you bring me?
What's this? Handgun. Giant gas. Prismatic driver. Space crabs.
We're finished here.
Alright. So, yeah, we're like 1 month away from Starfield, and oh boy, my bones are aching. Actually. Ah, crap, I think my bones are aching. Anyway, point aside. So, Starfield, at some point, is going to be released in September. That is, if it is without delay. And boy, oh boy, old God Howard is just eager to give the people his new game. Yeah, at some point at least. But yeah, I'm excited to at some point play Starfield. That is, if I'll ever get the chance to do so. And yeah.
Hey, I don't suppose you've seen Clementine out there. The talk about her is all skittish. I think Bo's gonna birth kittens and puppies at once.
You're not gonna believe where I found her.
Wait, for real? Folks around here have been worried sick about her. Well, don't just stand there gawking. Where is she?
Helping some otherworldly being called the Keeper.
What? You sound like you've been drinking too much of Mudtooth's tonic. You know that, right?
It's true. Swear, she's not on Earth anymore.
Alright, well, is she coming back?
I'm not sure. I don't think she knows.
So long as she's alright, I guess. I mean, I barely knew her. But she seemed like she could make her own choices just fine. So now that you found her, does that mean you're here to stay?
I kinda have to save existence first by destroying the root on their home world. Yeah, okay, I just heard what I said, but it sounded like out loud.
I'm sorry. I just can't believe all those words were put into the same sentence, or that I even understood some of it. Our lives got pretty weird, huh? I guess we were asking for it, looking for fairy tales and all. Well, I ain't going nowhere then. I'll be here when you need me, or when you're done, whichever comes first. Just make sure you come back, okay?
Why, you going somewhere? Kinda like it here. Alright, where's Bo? I gotta tell him about the current state of affairs, if I can help it.
Hey there, traveler.
Found Clementine. She's in a place called the Labyrinth.
The what? That doesn't sound okay. Do you have any idea what's out there? This is the World Stone we're talking about. We've got to get a rescue party together. We have to make sure she gets back safe.
Of course I know what's out there, Bo, and she's fine, really.
Right. I forgot that you... Sorry, I'm just... You really think she's okay?
She seemed to be. She's working in the root for good.
Wow. Really? That, that kind of does sound like her. Well, if you see her again, tell her that tell her that the town isn't the same without her. So, welcome back then, I guess. Anything I can help you with?
Let's see here. Aren't you worried about Ford at all?
Yeah, well, the Founder's his own thing, ain't he? It's not the first time he's disappeared on us. Not even the 5th time. Commander Ford, the Founder's grand... No,
Alright,
that's
he's
the
just
thing
repeating the
about
same
the Founder.
thing I asked
He
last
never
time.
stays gone. I mean, I knew she was gone. I just didn't know she was that gone. Clem takes off from time to time. Well, I never liked it, but and she always came back, saying she just needed to be alone for a while. And stay safe, traveler.
Alright, excellent. I kind of miss that in the first game. It was pretty much just a conventional leveling system where you pretty much just, the more
How's
you
the war
killed.
treating ya?
The more you kill,
Yeah,
the more
alright.
XP trait points you get. To some extent, I don't mind it here though. Here it's fine. Right now, I'm just struggling to get scrap more than anything.
Wanderer. 2 shots center mass and 1 to the head. Stop most of your problems.
Alright, so now I got a handgun. So let's see. So far, the guns that are here, this is just a Mauser broom handle. Mauser broom handle refurbished. Looks like a modified Remington revolver, if anything. Lever action rifle. Judging by it being called the Wrangler, I'd probably gauge it a Winchester. I'm pretty sure this shotgun is homemade. Something alike to Metro's auto shotgun. So it's pretty much the same thing, except not as Russian. Modified M1A or M14, as I would imagine it's a military work. Then again, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Automatic configurations aren't common during the early 80s to 60s. And then we have this thing. It's just basically an M60. It may not look like it due to the foregrip and the like, but it's just straight out M60. And then lastly, yeah, no, that's about it. Then we just got like a bunch of stuff here. The knuckle dusters are just modified. I just modified actual knuckle dusters. And then you have the katana, which is a pipe that's shaped like a katana. And then there's just an axe, which is just a hacksaw. You ever seen a cowboy use a pistol? Man, this has not looked as cursed as you think. Well, actually, it is cursed. I missed the revolver already. It's superior in every way. I have no idea what model pistol this is. It looks to be a... give me a sec. It looks almost like a kit bash of the rear end of a TT Tokarev with the fore end of a USP, but the bottom of a 1911. And it's also got the cock and hammer too, right in the back. So I really have no idea what to make of this gun, besides the fact that I'm surprised that rubber band is holding it all together. Carries 9 bullets, so hey, it's 2 off from being a typical 1911, so hey, what can you do? Okay, let's go.
What happened here?
Kalua's Rest. Oh, that's interesting. You can now wade through water now. I can now reenact my time in Vietnam. Look at that. That's actually kind of cool, though. It's a nice, interesting environmental hazard, so to speak. Can't wait to be walking through the Mariana Trench like this. Increase the health of archetype summons. Man, imagine if just flat out there's just an M16 in this game. Just an M16 with an M203 grenade launcher as like a legendary weapon. I would not mind if that was the case, actually. If I had to kill a boss just to get an M203 grenade launcher under barrel to a M16, I'll do it. I'll freaking do it. God, doubly hells. One time I need.
That was rough.
The one time I could use some lead right now. Why the hell did it give me everything else except lead? Oh, hells. Just eating shit right now. Come on, move, move, move. Yes, the root rot will. Yes, the dragon heart will solve a lot of problems, but apparently my sick cough is not one of them. Ugh, hells! Bleeding break. Baldur's Gate 3 comes out like next week, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Looks like I'm looking forward to Starfield, which is like a month away right now. Baldur's Gate is coming out soon. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to stream it on Twitch or YouTube? The problem with this idea is the fact that if I do a stream on Baldur's Gate, I would like to at the very least attempt to do a full committed one. Or at the very least, maybe I should do the beginning part, so that way at the very least later down the line I don't ruin it for anyone. I don't know. And then again, early access has been around for a good while now, so it doesn't really need to be safe from being ruined. I don't know, it's one of the things I'll have to levy out a little bit right now. I could always rely on a restream to try and stream on both platforms, but that besides though. Do I even want to stream Baldur's Gate 3? I don't want to play it. You know, maybe I should just do the beginning part of Baldur's Gate. You know, Act 1, basically. And funnily enough, apparently the highest level for Baldur's Gate 3 is level 12. Which, Larian Games, what the hell? Come on. Level 20 or nothing. But yeah, no. When it comes to that, yeah. It's level 12, which isn't as terrible, but still is kind of sad. I wanted to experience what it means to have timeless body, you know? What does it mean to have timeless body in the sense? What does it feel like to have total immunity to poison? Oh wait, I know, it's great. Difficult terrain? Yeah, it's nothing. Gunslinger level 7. Excellent. I don't think I got anything out of that. Crying out loud! Another one? How many of these clowns do I gotta kill? Total pain in my ass. Let's see here. Sidewinder. Increase ADS speed. I don't know, I like quick draw because it's just quick to the draw. Using mod regenerates 10% of health. Gain 200% health as a mod power. I like to look into the effects of Silicon Ring, but right now let's go with the Stone of Continuum. Okay, actually how much? I don't have enough scrap to upgrade any of my weapons right now. I'm stuck with the lever action. Oh man, I've been doing a solo nudist barbarian run in the early access version of Baldur's Gate. And to say the least, it is interesting as it is challenging, I'll say. It's interesting because the barbarian can clearly do a lot of things in a, well, offensive capability. And just playing the barbarian class for me is, I'm familiar with the barbarian class, but I'm not familiar with Wild Hearts or the, yeah, I'm not familiar with the Wild Heart or the, Berserker ones. I know that Berserker, contrary to what it is in Baldur's Gate 3, in the tabletop version, D&D, or just 5th edition D&D, Berserker is really just shit. That's it. It's like genuinely garbage, the Berserker subclass. And that's because Frenzy, Because Frenzy deals exhaustion, that's why. So that's why Berserker is just considered to be really bad. Yeah, that's why the Berserker subclass is just like considered to be really bad though. Because you inflict it with exhaustion. And the only way to get rid of exhaustion is by long resting. You know how often any normal campaign lasts for a long rest? Once. Like, genuinely only once. That's the only time you ever that's the only other time you long rest. And the worst part is, if you try and long rest, your exhaustion only goes down by 1. So, yeah. You don't want to play Berserker because exhaustion will just literally kill you first before the actual enemy you're facing against. It's like I'm so angry. It's like I'm so angry, but afterwards I'm tired. What should be said about melee combat, I feel, in this game is that while it is a way of a valid means of fighting, it is not exactly an effective means of fighting all the time. It's one of those instances I feel for one of those instances, besides the fact that I'm using knuckle dusters. Besides the fact that I'm using knuckle dusters, it is a matter of the fact that when it comes to really. Anyways, I was saying. This comes down to the fact that if the enemy's close enough to be beaten down on, and if you have the weapon that's actually decent, to deal decent enough damage to actually do harm. What the hell? Ugh. Ugh, great. Must I bust out my auto-loaded gun? The assault rifle. But yeah, melee combat in this game is one of those things that's a final resort, or just something that if you have a whole slew of enemies that are just gathering around you on. It's still a valid means of actual combat, as in this game it's a lot more easy to get more wide shots, but I think in the first game it was just a means of when the gun wasn't enough. Like you have to switch to melee.
This isn't looking good.
Alright, best analogy I can make, it basically comes down to the fact that melee weaponry is a fixed bayonet situation. Either you or the enemy are going to be dead. Fixed bayonets. Let me look that up real quick. What are the weapons of... Let's see here. I want to see what are the conventional weapons I could get my hands on. Chicago typewriter makes a return. Ford's scattergun returns. The Widowmaker, formerly just the sniper rifle, a pulse rifle, and the bone saw, and a royal hunting bow. The rest are specialized stuff, but I have no idea what they're about. Then we have regular melee weapons. Ooh, Adventurer's Blade. It makes a return now. A. Alright, a lot of the weapons are pretty much holdovers from the original game, which I'm not totally surprised by, but I am surprised that my guy from the first game didn't just be like, all these weapons are mine, I'm taking them as trophies.
Come on.
I mean I would. I gotta play Alan Wake at some point.
Out of room.
Or rather, I shouldn't say I should have to play Alan Wake at some point. I actually played Alan Wake already. It's pretty good, honestly. But yeah, no, at some point I would like to play Alan Wake 2 now. Wake harder. I actually played a lot of the Remedy games at this point already now. Besides the one obvious one they were commissioned to do.
No room for that.
But yeah, when it comes to the Remedy games, I actually played a lot of them already now. It was great. I wonder if, what was the guy's, and what was Alan Wake's friend's name? I know he didn't die, and despite the fact that he died in American Nightmare, that was non-canonical. That was the shadow of his friend. And to think, Alan Wake and Control are in the same universe. I mean, I could totally believe it though, that's for sure. Actually, it's also canonized in the fact that in the remastering of Alan Wake, that the world of Control, the FDC, the FFDC, or whatever the name was, does exist. So I can't wait for the Remedy verse to continue. And actually, I gotta play Quantum Break more accurately now. I think I have it on. No, I don't think I have it on Xbox. Well, actually, maybe I should check just in case. But I know the guy that played Green Arrow is there, and that's about it. Oh, hells. I have a break for a sec? Fucking shit.
That's nice.
Just grab the ring before I got wrecked. Oh, hell. Out of one frying pan into another. Are you kidding me? Oh, this is the area. Alright, so I know what this area is a bit now. This is the area at the beginning. Oh, hells. Drop. Come on. Oh. Come on. Mother. Eish. I'm not leaving until I kill that thing. In fact, let me check on that ring I got, though. That was a nice ring. What's it called? Increase relic capacity by 2. I don't get it. Oh, wait, I think I get it now. Yes, I get more healing, basically.
Okay, this is it.
Mother. I got an Estus boost due to me wearing a nicer ring. Lay down the damage, lay down the damage. When in doubt, punch it out. Heal, heal, heal. hells. Come on. Come on, man. We are in water, actually. Just realized that fire effect is kind of counterproductive. Kinda being the key word right now. Come on. Heal, heal, heal! Oh, took that like a champ. Oh. Aha! To hell with you.
Oh, that's right. You scrapped with the wrong guy.
Alrighty. Alright, sweet. Got this sick ass ring though that lets me heal by 2. Wait, why isn't this just a normal upgrade I could just do? Did they actually remove the ability to upgrade the dragon heart relics? Or just the relics that let you heal and just get restorative elements? If so, I'm sad. Alright, let's keep on going onward, see where we lead to. I love how the gunslinger armor looks, the high noon duds. They're very slick and stylish. Let me see the other stuff real quick, because I know for a fact that the radiant armor set was like heavy back in the first game. And along with that, the visor was also blacked out and you had an actual mask. To say the least, it's not totally lost on me. It's still very sick looking armor. The Void set. Now this was a set that I wanted to get my hands on as well. Very formidable. An exoskeleton type look. As well as the fact that it looks like a knight. I think this is the Slayer armor, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, to some extent it's the Elder armor here, but it's for Slayers, I think. Alright, back to my high noon duds though. They just scream drip. Look at this. Look at this. Full. Got a cape, got a bandolier, got everything, man. I am the Riz. I am the drip. Oh boy, this place, huh? Looks familiar, I'll say that, but I don't remember which part of Yeisha it is. A lot of the places are overlapping due to how both similar and different it looked. crap, 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 crap. I didn't realize that I'm literally freaking fighting in Vietnam. Look at this. All I need is just an M16 still with an M203 grenade launcher, and we're gold. It's like, Hendrickson, where are you, man? He's like, oh god, my leg. Just expecting the trees to now just start speaking Vietnamese now. I got like 1,000 scrap right now. Where is my challenger and adversary right now? Oh.
I'm in trouble.
Ah! It just glitched out of bounds. And it just glitched out of bounds. Ha! Nice. Alrighty, it's time to put this on wrap. It's getting rather close to my cutoff time, in a sense. But that besides, because I started it a little later down the line. Yeah. So, that'll be all for today. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the stream. If you want to see more, I'll be streaming again on... Let me check Baldur's Gate's release time, because I might... Yes, so I will be streaming on Thursday around the time of possibly afternoon. Whenever Baldur... Actually, yeah, no, around afternoon, because I think it said that around like 11... It was around like 11 o'clock Eastern Standard for me that it would come out. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, that'll be all for today. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next one, that being Thursday. Yes, that being Thursday. Around the time of possibly 12 to 1, in which I'll be using Restream, so that'll be doing both Twitch and YouTube, because I figured may as well do both. I did stream on Twitch, the early access one, but I figured I want to do it on YouTube too, so yeah. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next one. Till then, take care of yourself. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.